As you're probably aware, on college campuses, there's all kinds of clubs. There are pro-life clubs, there are botany clubs, engineering clubs, there's probably cornhole clubs. But what about fertility awareness clubs for women when marriage is still 5 or 10 years away? What's the point? And why is this going on? And why is this taking off on college campuses? We're going to dive into that subject today. Before we do want to remind you that if you're interested in coming to World Youth Day with Chris Stefanik and myself to go see Pope Francis and a million of our closest friends in Spain and Portugal this summer. Registration closes on April 1st for that. So if you just go to chastity.com/pilgrimage, you can still sign up, bring your family, bring your youth group. We'd love to have you with us. And then also, we're halfway through Lent, and so if it's not going as you had expected or hoped, as a guy, Exodus has come out with an awesome program called LentForMen.com. It's a 40-day journey through the Gospel of Mark, and if you just go to LentForMen.com/Jason, you can still sign up for this thing, get the most out of Lent before it's wrapped up. So dive into today's topic. First, we've got two guests on the show today. One is Jackie Aguilar. She's the Director of Education for Natural Womanhood. She's a Creighton fertility care practitioner and a certified symptothermal method instructor with the Couple to Couple League. She and her husband live in Texas with their 5 kiddos. And then also, Erin Dewey is a senior biomedical science major at Texas A&M University. Gig 'em. She's a Cycle Mindfulness Club leader on campus, and after graduating, she plans to pursue a PA school and become a certified in NAPRO technology, which we'll learn more about today. So, Erin and Jackie, thanks for coming on Lust is Boring today.
Thanks, Jason.
Now, a lot of people hear about like natural family planning. Okay, well, that's something for right before you get married. You got to learn it. I mean, it's Engaged Encounter Weekend. They're going to promote natural family planning for the first time to these couples. They're getting married in 3 months. Take a crash course in NFP, or you're married. This is for you. A lot of times when people hear the idea of fertility awareness and NFP being promoted before marriage, people don't get it. And so why do you guys think otherwise when it comes to the importance of learning this stuff sooner?
Sure. Well, when I was working with the marriage prep here in the Archdiocese of San Antonio, these brides, these engaged couples, these women would come to me after the presentation and say, well, I've already been on the pill for, 5-10 years. I didn't know all these things about my health. I didn't know that there were alternative, authentic solutions that could have helped me with the symptoms I was suffering with in high school. And so we kind of realized, whoa, these women need this information a lot sooner than in marriage prep for health reasons and for empowerment and knowledge of their bodies.
Now, Erin, what's been your experience?
Yeah, I think I want to kind of refer to something that was said on Natural Womanhood's podcast on one of their episodes on fertility awareness methods for the single woman. And they said something to the effect of, you don't need to have a ring on your finger to start paying attention to your health, to start paying attention to your fertility. And that has really stuck with me. I think, so I gave a talk at St. Mary's, the Catholic Center near Texas A&M University a few months ago. And when I gave this talk, women came up to me afterwards and they're like, well, I don't even track my period, or like, what's estrogen, what's progesterone, like what's ovulation, just all of these things that are so fundamental to who we are as women and things that affect us on a daily basis. And there was just a lack of knowledge, a lack of awareness, and a lot of these women were Catholic, and I even got the question of like, well, isn't that just like NFP, like isn't that just for marriage, like can I just wait to learn this? And I was like, the sooner you learn it, the better. And you know why? Because you deserve it. And your fertility, it's a gift. And your health deserves to be looked into because God has made you that way. And if there are things that are wrong, like you deserve to be looked into for that and seen for the way you're hurting, because God wants to restore you there. He wants to heal you there. So why delay a healing process? Why delay a place of freedom where God wants to inform and inspire our identity, especially as Catholic women, going out into the world from college, where there's so many different ideas, there's so many different people you're going to encounter. And, it's so important to be informed during that time, and shout out to St. Mary's for being just a wonderful place to form disciples for the world and for the church. And I really believe that for women, that includes fertility awareness, and that includes just understanding the basics of how we were made, so then we can go out and we can love others living into that, not suppressing it, not ignoring it, not hating it, because that's
Yeah.
the devil. That's the devil wanting to just thwart our fertility, thwart our goodness, so that we will be wrapped up in chains. And so I really believe fertility awareness is now, and you don't need to wait till you have a ring on your finger to be looked into, to be given attention, to believe that you're worthy of that attention, of that healing, of just having good health and loving yourself.
Yeah, I think the title itself, fertility and awareness, is just spot on, because I think a lot of couples kind of take their own fertility for granted. Okay, when the day comes and I want to have a baby and I'm 29, the fertility is going to be there. I just take it for granted it's going to be there. And if I'm, experiencing irregular cycles or heavy bleeding or painful cramps or this or that, well, I went to the doctor and he just said, go on the pill. And then it went away. And what a lot of these young women, I think, don't realize is that these doctors aren't really treating the disease itself that's underlying the symptoms. They're actually just treating the symptoms. And they think, okay, if the symptoms are gone, the underlying issue is gone, but it isn't. And so the beauty with natural family planning and just learning fertility awareness methods is, the students that I meet at the high schools, I've lost count of how many teenage girls come up and after the assembly, and they're like, wow, like you were mentioning this about the birth control pill or about Implanon. And I remember one girl in England kind of rolling up her sleeve, and she showed me, the Implanon implant that had been embedded under her skin to sink these synthetic sex hormones into her body so she didn't get pregnant with her boyfriend. And she said, yeah, you were mentioning those side effects. It's like, oh, well, do you think this is why all that stuff is happening? Why am I having all those things you mentioned? I'm like, well, it's pretty likely that's in the insert packet that came with the drug. And they don't read that stuff. And even if it's not for birth control, so many girls just having any fertility issues just go to the doctor, and 9 out of 10 of them, it's just lazy gynecology. It's like, oh, here's your pill. No charting, no ultrasounds to see if there are ovarian cysts going on or this or that. It's just, here's your pill, problem solved, come back next month for more pills. So if a girl is charting her fertility, can you help young women listening, or even young men, because I think it's important for them to learn this stuff as well? How is knowing when I have a period or what's going on then going to change my health when it comes to my fertility? How does that impact? Having that understanding, what does that do for me?
I think Erin has a really great personal story because she's had some of that experience.
Yeah, well, I think it first started for me, back in high school. I was like, I really have this desire to love women and to do something with that, to inform them of their dignity and worth, because I could just see how easily women got discouraged or just like lost this idea of like who they were, myself included. But I didn't quite know what that was going to look like. So I got to college and I was thinking, okay, like I think I want to go to PA school. And I shadowed this doctor who specializes in naprotechnology, which, if you don't know, is doing that practice of charting and just the whole root cause healthcare, holistic women's healthcare, where they don't prescribe birth control, they don't give you an IUD, that kind of thing. And I shadowed him, and I was like, I just learned so much about my own body and about women. And why didn't I already know this? And why don't other women know this? Because this is good stuff. This is informative. This is helpful, and the couples that were coming in, trying to conceive or things like that, like the husbands would come with the women to the doctor's appointments. And it was just such a supportive, loving environment. And you could so clearly see the fruits of this knowledge in the lives of couples, in the lives of women, this awareness, this bodily awareness. And so from there, I was like, okay, like I want to keep learning more, and I want to share this information with all my friends, but really as many women as I can, because like you said, Jason, it's like, here's the pill, here's the pill, here's the pill. And so I had asked that doctor, like, where can I find this information online? Because I tried Googling it and all of that stuff, nothing comes up. And so he gave me some websites, one of which was Natural Womanhood's website. and I started reading articles, and I was like, man, this is really good stuff. Like, this is, I'm a science person, and, I was like, this makes so much sense. And, and now I actually have resources I can send to friends that are on the pill, wondering why they feel so crazy, or just wondering what their options are if they do have some of these abnormalities. And so then, because of God's providence, honestly, I saw a link to apply for the psycho-mindfulness leadership position, and I applied for it, and, have been journeying through that as a leader this entire year. And it's just been incredible to see what charting institutes like in these women, what it instills in them, because first it starts off with, wait a second, I don't have a reason to hate my body. Like, there's something to love here. Like, there's nothing I need to like change about myself or reject about myself. Like, I can just love myself for the way I was created. Like that's enough. And, it seems so silly, but when you grow up in a world where it's like, okay, you're a woman, congrats, like, you're going to have pain every month. Like, and there's just this whole negative, like, narrative about what it means to be a woman, and, just all the pain you go through, and, okay, like, for the sake of childbirth, okay, well, childbirth is also painful. So, like, what are we looking at here?
Going through pain so you can experience more pain.
Exactly. And so slowly there was just, this shift of like, okay, like, I don't understand why I'm in so much pain. Like, is there anything really to love here? This Gerard, the founder of Natural Womanhood, talks about this spiritual and intellectual disconnect of like, I know that I'm supposed to love my body and care for it and just love being a woman. And then on the other side, I don't. And I kind of hate the way this makes me feel. I don't really like being a woman. And, there's this disconnect. And so really, I think one of the primary goals of this club and what I have seen so far is bringing union where there is that disconnect of like, okay, we are good. We are created good. And our fertility is a gift. And yes, there can be abnormalities, there can be dysfunctions, but for that we have root cause healthcare. And we can look into those, explore those with a doctor that we trust and with a doctor that is trained in this. And it's just been beautiful to witness these girls growing in confidence and awe of the way that they were created. And I truly believe that this information, this truth, just gives them the freedom to choose and to choose authentic, like, love of other women, love of self, love of God. And it honestly gives you, it allows you to see your worth in a way that you will then demand that of any man that wants to be in your life. And I think that's huge, because if we understand who we are, if we understand the way we're made, we understand our identity, then we can then expect others to treat us like that.
That's a really important point, because a lot of people make the objection, well, if you teach young people, fertility awareness methods and NFP, they're just going to use it as birth control and take advantage of it. And then they're going to know, okay, I can sleep with my boyfriend on these days, but I can't sleep with my boyfriend on those days. But the point you're making of just how when you learn your body, the reverence that you start to discover towards your own sexuality, that's really the key to practicing chastity, is reverence for your body and the bodies of others. It's so different than the message you're getting from the pharmaceutical companies, where those drugs they came out with a while ago, they just eliminate women's periods. And I remember seeing the advertisements for those when they came out, like, you want to get rid of those pesky periods? Well, here's the drug for you. And it's like, for most women, the ears would perk up. Yes, oh, that's great, but it's treating your period like it's like some defect. Like, it's like, oh, well, your car has an oil leak, and so we need to fix that thing up because there's something defective, and this drug will cure it. Instead of understanding, okay, what is going on with the monthly cycle? What does that actually mean? And so what you're doing is you're doing authentic education in human sexuality that really empowers a woman to be in control of her own fertility. instead of allowing the pharmaceutical companies to control that woman's fertility. And so to me, that key there, that root, like once you have reverence for yourself, you can expect reverence from others. But if you don't have reverence for your own body, it would almost be exceptional to expect anybody else too. And so when someone launches wants to do one of these clubs on this campus, like what does that actually look like? A cycle mindfulness club on campus. What does that look like? How does it work?
Sure. So right now we're doing recruiting for leaders for the 23-24 school year. So we have an application online on our website for cycle mindfulness leaders. And the club is a peer-led university program. It's designed for women to learn the science and truth of their cycles and fertility. And they do this through this core way of teaching the science and the medical aspects of our body, but then also by starting from the very beginning, getting women used to the habit of charting and teaching them that skill so that they have that insight into what's going on inside of their body. And you do this in this supportive context of this small group. So the women start to bond together and kind of form this safe environment where you can talk about those taboo subjects. You can talk about your negative experiences as a woman, or any other maybe misconceptions that we might have had, or struggles and suffering that we've experienced, and kind of share with each other to realize that, hey, we're not alone in this, and there is help for this. That there are ways that we can overcome a lot of these issues as women with holistic healthcare and restorative reproductive healthcare.
Now, Jackie, just as a practical point for people who might be listening, be like, oh, I'd love to start one of these up on my campus. Do they need to have like a science background like Erin, or can they kind of be like, hey, honestly, I don't even chart my own cycle, but I'd love to get one of these groups going so I can just have the fellowship to be able to do it with others? Do they need to know all the science behind it, or do they just need to be willing to learn it to be able to accompany the women on the program? That's a question for you, Jackie, and then I got one for you, Erin, when Jackie's done.
So what we offer through the leadership program is a $500 scholarship for the year. Then we're going to also offer a 3-day training program. So no, you don't have to know everything about the science of the cycle. Just a passion to want to learn more and share this with your peers. A lot of times women do have some experience, like they experienced some health issues in the past, or maybe they've tried to start charting their cycle. But during that 3-day training, which is all expense paid in Houston, Texas, we're going to have 8 different sessions on the science of fertility awareness. We're going to have a presentation by a NAPRO-trained doctor. We're going to offer a workshop on leadership, on listening, on small group management and leading a small group. We're going to also talk about spiritual self-care, and then a really cool tour of the a TOB, a Theology of the Body tour of the Houston Museum of Fine Arts, led by Father Thomas Loya. Mm-hmm. So all of that will equip you to be ready to then go on your campus and start a club of your own.
Oh, that's great. Now, Erin, in terms of what you're seeing on the college campuses, I mean, you're at Texas A&M. It's a big school with a lot to offer in terms of the faith. I mean, we were talking before the show, just Ash Wednesday. You said they had 7,000 Catholic students showed up for Ash Wednesday Mass. But then you've got the other side of the thing. I mean, you've got, the Catholic devout students. I'm sure you've got pagan agriculturalists. You've got all kinds of stuff going on campus, the drinking, the parties, the sororities, the devotion, the Eucharistic adoration. You're kind of seeing it all. On a broader lens, what are you seeing on the college campus in terms of the reality of female students on a college campus when it comes to their fertility, their sexuality in general? So kind of what is the state of the union of what you're seeing, and how this club can help intervene there?
Yeah, for sure. Well, when you say that, what comes to mind is, I think a couple of weeks ago, I was in one of my classes, and I had just hung out with one of my friends who was at the time 18 weeks pregnant. And I was so happy, just so overjoyed to spend time with her. And I went to class, and I was talking to one of my friends in the class, and I was telling her about my friend that's pregnant. And she looks at me and she says, "I'm sorry, I'm bad at being a woman. Can you explain what that means to me?" Like,
wow.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Where do we begin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. and then at a later point, I was talking about the Cycle Mindfulness Club that I lead, and I was saying how we meet every week, like for the entire school year. And she was like, "How do you even have that much to talk about?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I was like, "What do you mean? Like, there's so much to learn."
Yeah.
But essentially, yeah, it's just like here's over here, and then here's over here, and it's like, how do we bridge
Mhm.
this gap? And I think it's been beautiful to see how the things that we're doing in the club, the things that we're learning in the club, because essentially Natural Womanhood provides all of the resources for what we're learning. Like there's that curriculum, and then there's articles that we can read, things like that. So all of the information we're doing is like reviewed by scientific doctors and things
Okay.
like that. So all of it is scientifically accurate. Um, and so we'll be learning about all these things, and these girls have just really grown in their passion for this and really grown in their desire to be bold and go out onto campus and share this scientific evidence
Mhm.
of how our bodies work and the truth of what the birth control pill does. So they're telling guys, they're telling women, um, and it's just like, wow, this is like evangelization,
Yeah.
honestly.
Covert style.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And but actually, one of our club members she's in a speech and debate class, and she decided they had to debate something controversial, so she chose birth control.
Mhm.
And she decided to talk about all of the things that the bad side effects that they don't market for the birth control pill, and what it's actually doing on a scientific level, on a body level, to the woman. And so she had to debate that in front of her class. And they weren't allowed to give her feedback right then and there. But it's just, this is what this club is doing, is it's like empowering women about their own bodies, about their own fertility. Just having that self-awareness in and of itself is so huge. But then going out and taking that to the women that they're encountering on college campuses, at A&M, in their friend groups, in their families. And it's just brought this whole, it's bringing it into the light, just
Mhm.
where we're at and what all we're not told. Because I think a lot of women just don't even understand the fact that they're only fertile for like 3 to 6 days out of
Yeah.
a whole cycle.
Mhm.
And so, but it's like they're taking this pill every single day. But it's
Yeah.
like, if you knew that you were only fertile for that period of time, then like, is it worth it to take
Mhm.
that pill that's giving you all that side effects for that long?
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Jackie.
Sorry, yeah, just another example. At UTSA, one of the members told us a story at work on break. The coworker was telling her about her sexual relationship with her boyfriend that she's living with and all this. And at the end of break, she just got in one comment. She says, you can only get pregnant 3 to 6 days a month, right? And she said that the coworker like grabbed her arm, was like, I need to see you after work. You need to talk to me. What are you talking about? She had no clue. But just that one statement intrigued her enough to be like, what is this? What do you know that I don't know? And
Yeah.
I'm sure there are so many girls out there like that don't know
Yeah.
how their bodies work. Maybe they're taught a lot about sex, but they're not taught a lot about their own fertility and their own body. And so this is
Yeah.
a way to fill that gap for them.
Yeah, I mean, imagine from a woman's perspective, if you don't understand your body and you're sexually active, it probably creates an internal sense of fear of your own body. Like, I don't know what's going on. I could get pregnant Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like, who knows? It's like dodging bullets here. Like, eventually, I'm going to get pregnant because I don't know what's going on. So you're kind of living in the dark instead of having a sense of, okay, what's actually going on? I think the beauty of what the clubs that you're doing, I imagine there's no you don't have to be a card-carrying Catholic daily communicant at the Newman Center to roll into one of these clubs. You just have to, have fertility to be aware of, and that's the kind of the prerequisite to come to the club. But then there's this covert evangelization. I think of what John Paul II said, that said, the truth that the church first and foremost owes to man is the truth about man. And so it's just a form of evangelization to teach the truth to people. So what are you seeing, in these clubs, the light bulb moments of going on, the discussions, the realizations, tell us what you're actually seeing in the clubs. Because I imagine the discussions don't end when the club meeting's over. I imagine that they're chatting about it on the way to the cafeteria afterwards. So what's going on in these club meetings?
Oh yeah, for sure. Man, where do I even start?
Hello,
Jackie's heard
population.
so many stories. I think one of the big things that has been kind of circulating in our club has been, ever since the girls learned that you look most attractive when you're ovulating, when you're in that fertile window, it's become like the biggest compliment in the world to say, oh my gosh, you look beautiful today. Are you ovulating? And there has been this whole trend around St. Mary's women now, because these girls are telling their friends, right? So it's like they'll go up to me like, oh my gosh, are you ovulating today? You look so beautiful. And it's like, oh my God, like it's hilarious, but it's like, oh my gosh, like this is authentic, like women's community. We're not sitting here gossiping about the latest news or like drama or anything. We're actually just like talking about the way we were made and talking about our own unique experiences. And I think one of the coolest things that we've learned, we did kind of a meeting on cycle syncing, and it was basically just the fact that like we're cyclical, right? So we're not going to show up the same every day, and at every point in our cycle there are going to be different strengths, right? So you have like the first part of your phase, which includes your period all the way up to ovulation, which is your follicular phase. And then you have the second part, which is your luteal phase, where it's after ovulation till like right before your next period starts. And so the girls also started using this vocabulary of like, oh, I'm feeling follicular today, like, or I'm feeling luteal today, to describe how they're feeling. And essentially, I really believe that the awareness that charting has brought these women, like knowing exactly where you're at in your cycle and not waiting for your period to know, like, okay, yeah, that's why I felt crazy. Like, okay, we're cool. But to actually every day be like, okay, here's where I'm at in my cycle. Here's what I know is maybe typical to be feeling during this part of my cycle. And here's how I can have grace with myself. And here's how I can here's how I can form realistic expectations for myself today, and to do that every single day. And it just cultivates this level of like emotional maturity, spiritual maturity, and just awareness of like how I'm showing up every day, how I'm living, and really just rooted in reality. I think charting is a very practical way to stay rooted in reality. For instance, during your period, it's known that you have your best like intuitive reasoning. Then it's known that you're probably the most naturally inclined to be reflective. And so if you think about it, like if every month, every time we had our period, we sat down and we just, you're already not feeling super social. You're not wanting to like hang out a bunch. You kind of just want to like be alone, rest. You're starting to reflect about, okay, what was this last month like? Is there anything I need to change to take care of myself better? Or is, maybe did I not ovulate last month? Okay, if I didn't ovulate, which is known to be a sign of health, known to be the 5th vital sign for women, then why wasn't I ovulating? Like, was I not sleeping enough? Was I not eating enough? And it's like this introspective, okay, how can I, if I have reverence for my body, then how can I continually love my body? And how can I continually reflect on how to love my body better?
Yeah. That's neat stuff because I mean, when a woman has her chart, she's holding not only her reproductive health chart in her hands, but she's holding her biological health in her hands in the sense that, okay, like you said, like, okay, if my cycle's not regular, I missed ovulation, why? And it could be, well, let's see what's going on. Where are the hormones stored in the body? They're stored in the fat. You know, am I struggling with an eating disorder that's causing me to not have enough fat to be able to regulate my hormones? Maybe there's a deeper issue there that needs to get looked at. And so it's beautiful from a health perspective there. I can also see it translating into a spiritual health perspective. Kelsey Skoke wrote a book for us called Uncompromising Purity. It's not just a guy problem. And she talks about battling temptations from a woman's perspective because of a lot of the resources that are out there for guys on chastity and battling pornography and masturbation, all this stuff. It's all from like kind of a male perspective. And so she writes from a kind of a female perspective of, okay, we need to become aware of different things as women when it comes to our spiritual struggles, that maybe there's certain times in the month where you get triggered a heck of a lot more easily. Maybe if you know that coming into this window of your cycle, that you could be a little bit more, not only vigilant, but compassionate on yourself. Okay, there's nothing wrong with me that I kind of have a heightened sensitivity, you know, in my body, you know, this next week or so, because this is what's going on. And so spiritual health, biological health, like I said, emotional health. Okay, why am I on an edge? I'm on this phase. And so it translates to so much more. And then just the ovulation stuff you were talking about. If people want to research that stuff, I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, ovulation is the reason women wear lipstick, because it mimics the fact that women's lips are more plump and red during ovulation. And so having the darker lips is like, hey, I'm ovulating all month long. And we don't even realize why we're mimicking ovulation in the blush that's being worn. And so even the content of sugar in a woman's saliva peaks during ovulation. And, this is just like the face. And then you start to study natural family planning and how the cervical mucus changes throughout the month. That during infertile times on a microscopic level, it looks more like a mesh, and it doesn't facilitate the transport of sperm. But then, when she's ovulating, you can see these microscopic channels that facilitate the transport of sperm, and the chemical composition of the mucus itself allows the sperm to survive longer. It actually nourishes the sperm so they can stay alive in the woman's body for up to a week leading up to ovulation, maximizing fertility. And like, when you start to understand this stuff, you grow if there's one word, it's just wonder. It's just awe. Awe of the woman's body. And then when the man is learning it with her, it's like, wow, you grow in that reverence. And so in terms of the physiological, emotional, spiritual, personal, relational benefits behind this thing, to me, it's a no-brainer. And so if girls are listening to this, or women are just like, or guys listening to it, hey, my girlfriend, she can start one of these clubs. She's all into this stuff. How does someone go about learning more, starting the club, plugging into the work that you guys are doing?
Right. So go right now to our website, go to naturalwomanhood.org, and you can search cycle mindfulness, or if you can put it in your notes, I guess,
Yeah.
Jason, naturalwomanhood.org/cycle-mindfulness-club-leadership-team.
Okay, that's a lot of dashes, so we'll definitely put it in the show notes.
That's the website for our application. And so there you can see the application process. There's a couple of essays and 2 references. The deadline is March 31st. So it's coming up pretty soon. But if you have any questions, you can reach out personally to me, Jackie Aguilar. My information's on the website. And we would love to have women come and be trained so they can be sent out back to their university, and we will provide them with support throughout the year to use our curriculum to lead their club on a weekly basis.
So this would be the deadline to get training for the fall semester. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, these are right. This is the application for leadership for the fall semester.
No,
and we're looking for ideally college juniors and seniors that maybe have some leadership experience, but if you're a sophomore that's really passionate about it, or maybe you just graduated but you're still going to be around campus, or in some capacity, reach out to us. We're willing to consider those applications as well.
Okay, so it's probably sophomores and juniors looking for, because then they'll be the junior seniors next year?
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. So any last thoughts before we wrap up? Anything we missed?
I just think it's time to acknowledge the fact that women are not men and men aren't women. Like, we have this 5th vital sign as women, and when we live in tune with that, it changes so much. It really does. And it gives God the space to come in and do the healing work, to inform us, to inspire us, and to allow us to discover what he's asking us to do with our lives. And so, you know, if we're given this fertility, if we're given our cycles as a fifth vital sign, then it's time to look into that. And it's time to acknowledge that we have this and like men don't. And so we should be cherishing that and looking into that and seeing, like, as you said, it has spiritual, it has biological, like all these different impacts. And so I just want to give anyone that's listening like permission to look into their fertility, to look into their health. And especially if you're interested, if you have this desire to serve women and to educate them, like, please apply. You will have such a lasting impact, like, and it's been such an honor and such a blessing to be able to serve women in this way, because like, you know that you're making an impact on future generations, because these women are learning about themselves, they're learning about their bodies, and they're having this reverence. And like, girls in my club have already said, like, I can't wait if I have daughters to teach them how to chart and to teach them about their fertility. And I'm like, man, that if we can get more of those, like, this will change the world. And like, this can change so much about how just women are viewed, or how like sexuality is viewed. And so I just, you know, I'm so passionate about this. And just, if you have a desire, please just apply. You will not regret it.
Yes, I mean, it's such an amazing opportunity, because it's a constructive way that already exists, that has all the groundwork done, the curriculum and the articles that we use in the meetings. And so if you have this passion, you can take this framework that we have and, you know, share it with your peers, and, you know, you'll receive the $500 scholarship. You know, the all expense paid training, which is in Houston, Texas, June 9th through 11th. So those are important dates. And then just a life-changing experience of leadership. So we're excited to offer that to the college women.
No, that's awesome. And, you know, Erin, as you were speaking, the wheels were kind of turning in my head in terms of the link, you know, to this between body dysmorphia, even gender dysphoria. You know, I know there's a lot of other factors going on, but adolescence for a girl can be a pretty troubling and difficult time, especially when she's not really being walked through that with her own mom. You know, I mean, I've had girls tell me like that when they had their period for the first time, they literally thought they were bleeding to death. Like, they had no idea what was going on in their own body. And it can be such an uncomfortable time of their body, of their life and development, that if they were learning this stuff, obviously this is not going to erase gender dysphoria across the board, but to at least start to feel appreciation for your body, identification with your body. Like, there's something good here. There's something wondrous going on in my body. The world doesn't get it. In fact, I remember a couple of years ago, the company Always, that makes the feminine hygiene products, had a Venus symbol on their products, you know, representing womanhood. And someone got on Twitter and said, hey, I just want to say, I don't know why you guys have a female Venus symbol on your feminine hygiene products, because hello, men get periods too. No kidding. Within 2 weeks, Procter & Gamble issued a press release apology and removed the female symbol off of all of the feminine hygiene products across the board. It's like, folks, this stuff doesn't need to be happening, you know, but we need to be more proactive in terms of teaching women the goodness of their bodies, that no one is born into the wrong body. If anything, they're kind of born into this wrong culture that teaches you have to hurt your body to be your authentic self. And so I think you guys are playing a critical and awesome role of developing that reverence and wonder for women. Not only women should have, but I think men should have as well. And so I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. And we're going to put in the show notes the links where college students can apply to this stuff. And even if you're not in college, you want to learn more about this stuff, go to Natural Womanhood. Share this stuff with your gynecologist, because unfortunately, a lot of people in the medical profession have a hard time, I think, learning new stuff. I had heard once that there was some type of crustacean that lives in the ocean, and then when it attaches to kind of its host organism, like a coral reef or whatever, it'll actually stay there for life, and so it eats its own brain for nourishment and just kind of latches on. And someone said that's kind of like a tenured university professor, that once they kind of latch on, they don't learn anything new. And unfortunately, not to knock on all our beloved doctors in the world, but a lot of times if what they learn in med school, oh, the pill is the panacea for all these things, they can carry that into their practice for 20 years until someone kind of gives them new, incredible information. This is not conspiracy wing stuff, internet. No. This is backed up by the data. It works. And unfortunately, I don't think women's healthcare has made a lot of progress in the last 50 years since the pill was around, because that's just gotten doled out like candy. And so this is really going to the roots of these things, holistic healing without these long-term side effects that we're getting from the pill. And so all those links are going to be in the show notes. Also in the show notes, if you want to become a member of our Patreon community to help us do more of these podcasts, to spread this message, to support our family and our ministry, please consider becoming a member of our Patreon community. You get all kinds of benefits, from free t-shirts and, give out my personal email depending on what tier you join, come visit you, have dinner with you when I come to town, all kinds of stuff. Just go to patreon.com/Jason Evert. All that stuff is going to be in the show notes, but most especially check out naturalwomanhood.org. Jackie, Aaron, thank you guys for coming on the podcast. Loved our conversation today.
Thanks,
So
Jason.
much, Jason.